we have many people struggling with no paychecks. They're not getting paid right now. So they had to jump on DoorDash and deliver some Olive Garden, some Cheesecake Factory, or get on Uber, drive people around town, or other creative ways, side gigs, you can use your imagination, just so that they can pay their bills. And oftentimes, it's just not enough. But we have a special group of federal workers that are getting paid. On top of getting paid, they're getting something called a super check. Have you heard of this? A super paycheck. This is for about 70,000 people in the Department of Homeland Security law enforcement personnel. We're talking about ICE deportation officers, Border Patrol agents, Secret Service, your air marshals. They're getting paid, and it's all thanks to the one big, beautiful bill that was passed earlier this year. The money is in there. That's what's funding it. So what exactly are super checks? The DHS secretary announced that these enhanced paychecks are going to include three things. First, regular pay, obviously, great. Second, retroactive pay. In case there was a period of time after October 1st that they weren't getting paid, most of them were, but if there was any period of time, they're going to have that included. And then third is overtime. So all three things combined, estimated it's around 30 to 40% bigger than a normal paycheck. So, most people in ICE, I would say, probably get paid around 80 to 90,000 a year. Some people get paid a lot more than that. It just depends on how long they've been in the government and what exactly are they doing. Now, this is a stark divide. It's a contrast between, let's say, air traffic controllers. Air traffic controllers are essential. Let's say ICE, Border Patrol is essential. They're both essential, but one gets paid, one doesn't get paid. Now, there's efforts to pay ICE. We have lawmakers drafting up bills. Bills are already complete. They just need to be voted on. They're trying to pay air traffic controllers. In the meanwhile, you have airports giving them free food. Here, take some free McDonald's, take some free, steak and eggs, whatever the case may be. It is somewhat confusing, though, where you have the administration really going out of their way, trying to move mountains in order to keep the military paid and to keep law enforcement paid. But somehow, some way, the air traffic controllers, they just slipped off the map and they weren't focused on them. But the airport operations is the main thing that people focus on when it comes to a government shutdown. Like right now, what's going to take center stage is SNAP. SNAP impacts a lot of people with the food subsidies, food stamps, things like that. But before that, or in conjunction with that, it's airport operations. You know that, right? Airport operations is the whole reason why the government resumed operations in 2019. It was because of the airport. So here's my thinking, are they intentionally causing pain to the air traffic controllers? Is that not a bug, but a feature? Is that the whole intent? Because then you can really use that leverage, the pain leverage, like people are in pain here. Let's use that for our political agenda or whatever the case may be. I don't know. But this whole conversation about who's essential, who's non-essential, that needs to be ironed out. Because this is ridiculous what's happening right here. The way that federal workers are categorized, if you look at it, the way it's supposed to be is accepted federal workers, the ones that still have to come in and work without getting paid. Those should only be people that protect human life or property, or fulfills constitutional duties. It should be one of those. And that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot more people that have been categorized, have been labeled accepted. And then there's a situation where you probably, either you've been in the situation or you know somebody who's been in the situation where essentially they were told by their agency, hey, you're furloughed, go to the house. And then a week and a half later, they're like, oh, no, come back in, actually. Your status changed. Now you're accepted. We expect you to start working immediately. I mean, what is that? How is that not clearly identified before the shutdown even happens? How is that not in the contingency plan? Which is a whole nother issue because every agency has their own contingency plan. So what has happened is essential and non-essential has become very subjective. And what that means is last minute calls by mid-managers. That's what it means. There needs to be a whole lot more clarity on what constitutes an essential and a non-essential employee, and it should be communicated ahead of time at the bare minimum. Now, I want to go ahead and touch on something else real quick. Telework, right? Because telework was something that was occurring for decades. And then all of a sudden this year, people saw it like ripped away. And it really impacted people a lot of different levels because obviously most people were not remote work, but there was some telework that was sprinkled in for work-life balance. And it was proven that it was a tool that you could use not only for recruitment, but for retainment. There's a lot of companies doing it right now. So telework is off the table for a lot of people. Reasonable accommodations for some agencies, okay, maybe it can exist. But what we saw in the summertime, in July specifically, we saw new guidance come out that telework was okay for religious activities. If you were doing something that fell under the category of religious, like it's a religious accommodation, then agencies were encouraged to let their workers telework. And I know a few federal workers that took the government up on this offer. So what does that mean? That means you can request. I know people that are doing 1 to 2 days right now. 1 to 2 days a week telework. And why? Prepare for religious observance. That's one. Prayer, meditation. That's another one. There's quite a few categories. Is everyone that takes advantage of it, are they religious? I don't know. Probably not. But they are using it because it specifically says in there that it will not burden the agency. Letting a person telework 1 to 2 days a week will not place overdue burden on an agency if it's for religious reasons. I don't know how religious you are, but if you have a need to telework, you should explore your spirituality and your religious inclinations and come up with a decision because you can submit that through your agency if it fits you. But until the government fixes its telework policy, that's all you got. It's between religious activities and the next snowstorm or hurricane alert, which is really a shame because it will be a detriment to the federal workforce. You're unable to recruit high talent that way. Look at the private sector right now because that's who the federal government competes with. They compete with the private sector. You want IT talent? And some agencies do. You want cybersecurity and AI? Some agencies do. Then you will see companies like Google and Microsoft. They largely allowed the majority of their workforce to telework at least part of the week. It doesn't have to be the whole week. A day, 2 days. Workers appreciate that. People want to be in an environment that fosters that type of work-life balance. It's attractive. It attracts people. Even Tesla, take Tesla for example. Last year, there was job postings for software engineer that had a component of telework. And this is coming from a company where the CEO, Elon Musk, said telework was immoral. It wasn't moral to telework. But even a company like that, that's worth over $1 trillion, they see the value. If you want the right talent, you have to offer the right incentive package to include the ability to work at home periodically. Now, in addition to this, what we're seeing is the Department of Defense is encouraging its supervisors, its managers, to start terminating the workers faster. They want it done with speed and conviction. So there's a new policy came out not too long ago that describes exactly what they're encouraging their supervisors to do. How can they start whittling away at the workforce when it comes to underperforming workers? So it's really interesting. If you haven't heard about that yet, I want you to check this video out next. Stay updated by signing up to the free newsletter down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.